Welcome. In this video, I want to take you through the DUX workflow. We won't be diving in too deep, but just a brief overview so that you can understand how this thing works. And the reason you might want to do that is because you value your time and you want to save on average 70% per project. Before we dive in, of course, there are some prerequisites we need to get out of the way. Clearly, you need to have your DUX account. Then, in order to have Xactimate pull the data from DUX, you need to have your Xactimate account owner make sure that DUX is enabled. Once those two things are set, we are on our way. Now, of course, you need to have your Xactimate project. So I've got mine right here, but before we get into that, I'm going to go into Matterport and I'll show you why. So here's my Matterport account and I've got these two models that we're going to be working with today. This is one of them, and I want to go into Edit and go into Property Layout. It's very important that you have your property layout correctly set in the models that you're going to be using with DUX. So here, for example, I've got my property layout and I can see that I need to include this in my property layout. All right, now that we've got our property layout correctly set up in both our Matterport models that we're going to be using with DUX, we can go back into Xactimate. I'll go into my project and press Request Data. That's going to open up the claim solutions, and because we have DUX enabled in our Xactimate account, I've got this drop down right here where I just choose the erudite estimate. All right, so I've got this form filled out and just hit submit. And now I just need to open up DUX. And now you can see I have one open project, and let's open it up. Now in my case, I only have water mitigation because of how my DUX account is set up. But in your case, you might have more options. So choose the option that's right for your project and press continue. Only because I've already done this before, my Matterport account is already signed into. But if you haven't done this before, then at this point, you're going to be asked to sign into your Matterport account where those models live. Now, because my address syncs with the address in the Matterport model in my account, it knows which model to pull up. But if that wasn't the case and my Matterport model did not have the same address as my Xactimate project, I would simply paste in the correct Matterport model ID or Matterport model link into the fields presented, and then I would get to this step. And at this step is where I need to specify which is the pre-mitigation and which is the post-mitigation. So here, based on the model name, I know that this is the post. So I'm just going to grab this and put it down here to where DUX is asking me to put the post-mitigation model. And same goes for here. I'll just drag this up here and put this where the pre-mitigation model belongs. Once that loads in, I can just hit continue. Now we need to map the rooms, and this is where having those property layouts aligned and pretty much the same in both models comes in very, very handy, and why we did that before getting to this step. So you can see here, I can just use my roller wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out, move this around, and basically I need to specify the two aligning rooms. So in this model, I have an office here and an office there. And at the bottom, I have the room label that DUX is going to use for the line items. So this is important. This being the office, I'm going to keep that as office. Just hit save. This is the entrance, so I'll keep that as is. Hit save. This is not a hallway. This is more of a dining room, so I'm going to change this. Now all I need to do before letting DUX loose into my Matterport models is complete this form. And all the fields in this form are completely editable by my DUX account admin. That way, as an adjuster or estimator, I'm sure to provide all the necessary information. And now is when the magic happens. I'm going to speed through this, but this is DUX going through both models and determining automatically what's different and creating those line items for you. This is where you're saving that 70% of your time creating those line items manually. All right, after only a few minutes, the DUX Erudite engine has gone through both Matterport models and automatically created the scope of loss you can see here. Let's just briefly go over what we have here. At the top, you have these green, yellow, and red dots. It indicates which ones the Erudite engine is very confident with and which ones it is a little bit less confident with. And in this case, we don't have any low confidence line items, so that's great. We also have the mapped house area in square feet right here, and the line items are grouped by activity. I can change that if I wanted to, but I'll keep it as activity for now. Of course, as the adjuster or estimator, it is my responsibility to make sure that all these line items are correct. And I can do that right now in DUX or in Xactimate after having transferred over all the data. First of all, I have the room summary right here. So let's drop this down, and I have a lot of information about everything that the Erudite engine saw. Over here, I have the images that were captured, and you can see these little blue stars. Every blue star indicates an image that's going to be transferred to Xactimate. If I wanted to, I can also grab my own images right over here. So either from the pre-mitigation or the post-mitigation model, I can just snap a picture and have that included in my set of assets transferred over to Xactimate. Within the line item itself, I can take the time and correct anything that needs to be corrected. So for example, if I press on the measurements tool right over here, it'll bring up the post-mitigation model, and you can see all the auto measurements from my property layout come up, but I can also grab measurements myself. So for example, if I want to draw a measurement line right over here, I'll press the plus. And if I double tap, it'll just draw a measurement line perfectly perpendicular to the surface on which I clicked. And I can quickly calculate that this little section of flooring right over here is 5 inches. And if I click this blue button right over here, I see all the evidence captured by Erudite supporting the line items. And at the top, you see I have all photos selected, which means I get to see the evidence from both pre- and post-mitigation models. And I can also view this in the Matterport model itself. So if I want to hit View in Matterport, it'll take me exactly to where the Erudite engine captured this image. So if I press there it is, and from here I can walk around. By the way, if I click on one of these, I can see the photo description down here, and I can change that if I want to, and then just hit save in order to save it. Once you feel like all the line items, photos, photo captions, and measurements are correct, and the scope of loss is accurate in DUX, you can transfer everything into your Xactimate project. And you do that by simply clicking the Create Xactimate Estimate over here. Now DUX is sending everything into my Xactimate project, saving me 70% of my time not having had to do that all manually. Everything now is all wrapped up. I just click Mark Project as Complete. Now, instead of that project being listed under Open Projects, it's listed under Complete Projects. Of course, I can still open this up and go back in, make any kind of corrections I want, and transfer those changes into my Xactimate project. And just like that, DUX's Erudite engine automated 70% of the workload for me. DUX creates the sketch, the line items, and the photos with labels and organizes everything by room. And all you need to do is confirm the accuracy and push everything to Xactimate to see the complete estimate with pricing. I hope this information was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.